Hey guys, Chip here. So if you recall, last time we left off by creating this exterior locker, and what we did is we used a mirror modifier, and as we use that mirror modifier, you see that it's just a quarter that we're designing. Now what we want to do now is we're going to actually work on the interior, and we're going to use this as an excuse to use our brand new add-on called SPOCK to quickly add a lot of detail to it. So let's get started. First, now that I'm tabbed into this, I'm going to go into the 3 mode and select these, and I'm going to say Control X to basically merge these faces. And if we say X, we'll see that we're going to have dissolve faces, dissolve edges, dissolve vertices. So I'm going to hit dissolve faces right here. So I got that. So that's just basically merging these faces. So I'm going to grab this one, this one, this one, and this one. These are going to be the ones that we're going to want to use for our interior. But first, I'm going to go ahead and inset these guys. And in order to do that, I'm going to have a little bit of problems. I've got these little bit of overhangs. So I'm going to hit the K button. I'll go into orthographic view 3, move out here, 9, flips it around. And I'm going to say K, and then I'll use the A. A means that we're going to align it to, a snap angle. So we'll go here. Let's just go all the way across there. And, or actually, let's just do 1. We'll go right there. Right click to get out of it. Grab this one, go up there. Right click to get out of it. And then we'll go up here, here, here. Right click to get out of it. And I think that's all we have. Hit enter. Okay, so as you can see, we already have all these little tabs. There's one here, one there, one there. We've deleted all of the, or cut these all off. And so now we have just these surfaces inside. Tab out of it. Next thing we want to do is we want to tab out of this and let's apply all the mirror modifiers. And now we have one solid mesh. And let's just go ahead and again, dissolve faces like we did before. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to create these planes, which we're going to use to populate using SPOCK. But I want to inset these. And so if I take a plane, for instance, and I just say inset, inset, you see really quickly we get this problem right here. If I look at my vertices, I got this crossover. It's because of this vertex right here coming over there for that plane. So what I want to do is undo that, and I want to basically go in and let's separate this face, this planar face, from this whole mesh. We do that with mesh split faces and edges by vertices. And then if I hit G, you can see it automatically separates that. So that's being done. So you can basically say Shift H, which is hide unselected, right? And now if I look at this and I go to 1, we'll see that we have all these vertices here, right? So if I hit A and then go under mesh, clean up, limited dissolve, I'll set this to 1, always do that. But now you can see the vertice count is now just 4. Tab. So that's really what we have. So we have this object right now is good, and if I select it, remember Alt H is going to show everything. So if I select this 3 and do it inset, it works perfectly now, right? So that's what we want to do. So let's go ahead and do that for everything. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and select some of these others. Let's get all the other ones selected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got them all. And we'll go under mesh, split faces and edges by vertices. Now, if I hit the G key, I'm going to get this weird thing going on. I'm going to hit escape, not do that. I'm going to just grab one of them at a time. And you can see if I grab one of them at a time, it actually works correctly. So it worked. It's just that G key moving them right after it split them. It seemed to stay connected with those others. So we have all that done. So now we're good to do our limited dissolve. Let's go back in and select just these faces. And I'm going to, again, Shift H so I can just see them, and go into 1, see all those faces, and say mesh. And I can also say X, limited dissolve. That'll do the same thing, right? So I've got that. While these are here, let's go ahead and go into 3 mode, and I'm going to say I, and I'm going to move them in. And I'm going to move them in probably just a little bit, like that. I'm going to say 0.04. Let's do 0.04, like that. Now, when we do that, we're going to notice that we do have a few areas that have crossed over. So I'm going to just take all this and say merge at center. So it's just on that back face, right? So merge at center, and then we do the top. Okay, now we have that. Let's select that. Let's select the interior, these interior faces, the ones that we offset. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to offset them less than the number that we had before that we used our face offset, so we don't have anything crossing there either. And so the way you do that is under face, extrude faces along normals, right? So we'll do that, or Alt-E, extrude faces along normals. So let's move it this way. So something like that. So it was 0.03. And it looks like that's going to work just fine. So with that done, now we have these selected. Now what I want to do with this, I want to create a whole new object with these selected. So I'm going to P selection, and this is the new object. I want to tab out of this and call the new object locker interior. And this one is locker exterior. Okay, and then let's just go back, tab into locker exterior, and let's go ahead and show the rest of this stuff. Show hide, reveal hidden, Alt-H, and that gets that. Okay, so now for the fun part. So as I look at this, keep in mind that we have the exterior, and then we have this interior, which just has these simple planes. And as you can see, if we tab into them, you know, they're just, each one has 4 vertices, which is going to be perfect as we want to use that for populating. So the goal here is to populate all of these faces with a bunch of different items using SPOCK. So when you open up SPOCK, it's going to open up something like this. And it might actually, this might be open or not, I don't really know. But anyway, the point being that you might want to first just drag it out a little bit wider, because there's a lot of little controls that you're going to want to be able to see. So let's go over SPOCK first before we decide how we're going to model this. So these are the DPACKS. If you have simple Sci-Fi, you're going to have all these others, and they also work in SPOCK as well. But the SPOCK comes with this empty and SPOCK Sci-Fi. So I'm going to click on SPOCK Sci-Fi, and I'm going to say load to scene. And so what that does, and I'm going to minimize this, what that does is it loads all of these DPACKS. Let's just go look at one, for instance. So this is a DPACK. It's a collection, right? And a DPACK is just a collection of different objects. And these are mostly single mesh objects. They may have a child label or something, but you can see they're different objects. They have these little standoffs here. Anytime SPOCK propagates, it always takes the bottom of a DPACK. So it always looks for the actual bottom of the DPACK to actually use as an insert point. In fact, what it really does is it actually creates a bounding box and takes the bottom of the bounding box in the center to identify the location point where it needs to be inserted. And of course, we're always inserting instances. So what we can do is if we select this and we say Alt-D, notice that what happens is it's changing the actual display graphics on this. And it's even changing the name labels and stuff like that. Now you can see we have, in this particular DPACK collection called SP displays, we have 5 different displays. Let's just look at something like pipes. So here's pipes. So you can see they're a bit different. But one of the things that's interesting to note, if you look at the pipes and these, you'll see that they all have sort of a relative scale to them, and that's important. So if you create your own DPACK, make sure you use a relative scale to these. Just import one of these and make sure that you're creating a scale that's relative to these. You can locate these anywhere; it doesn't really matter. So anyway, let's turn these off, and let's get back to what we're working on. Once these are loaded, now we have underneath here all the different algorithms that we can use to populate the faces that we select. So I'm going to leave it on random. So the goal here is to populate all of these faces with a bunch of different items using SPOCK. Okay, so this is Chip from the future, and what I'm doing is we've actually updated SPOCK. So I'm using the updated version now, so it's going to look a little different from what you saw, but primarily there's some new thumbnails here, and as well as the algorithms will all have the name on them, so that when you choose one, you'll be able to see what it is. But we're going to stay with random. So let's go ahead and tab into this item. And what we want to first do is we're going to select this little face down here. We're going to create a collection set, a couple of them actually. Let's grab the first one. We're going to use the panels under, and that's one that's going to be somewhat small, and it fits underneath things. And then the second one, we're going to use the pipes, and it's the same thing. And I'm going to set these both to fill. And the reason I'm setting them to fill is because I want first to fill the whole thing with this collection and then fill the whole thing with that collection. So one on top of each other. If I'd set them to instance, it would actually just choose one or the other to fill with. In fact, let's just show you that real quick. Set the scale. We're going to set the scale to 2. Always set it a little higher to start with, and then you can jack it down. And we'll just say pack it. And you can see that it doesn't pack it very densely, but nothing is actually overlapping. Now let me go ahead and set these to fill and pack it again. And you can see it's very much denser. So now I'm going to change the rotate to any one of these rotates. And this means that the algorithm will actually try and rotate the object one of these directions to fit it even better. So let's pack that. Okay. You see we're getting a better fill around the edges. And I set the density to 1, but if I set it to 0.5, something like that, and pack that, you'll see it's only going to go to 0.5 of the way across. It doesn't mean the density is going to be spread out. I can do that with margin, but it's just leaving it like that. So let's go ahead and put the density back up to 2, which is as high as it goes, and pack it one more time. And let's just keep doing this until we see something we like that. And what I can do at this point is just say save, right? So that saves that. And now if I clear it, you see we'll have it just up here. So this will turn it on and off. And if I clear all and hit this button, I'll load all the settings I just used for this particular collection. And when I click over here and I say pack that, and I say save that, now I've got 2 of them, so I can turn one on or the other on, right? Or I can click this button and turn them both on and off at the same time. And of course, the same thing's true with these buttons. And then I can, of course, delete, right? Delete, that deletes them. So let's go back over here, and I'm going to add one more collection. Now that I have these done, let's add one more collection. And the collection I want to add now is dots, SP dots. So with dots selected like there, I'm going to basically set the margin on this to maybe 10%. And I'll leave the scale at 1. And what I'm going to do is I'll hit pack. And what I want to do is I want to see where that dots are. The dots, they're basically, this is the actual lighting collection. So if I look at this, you'll see that this is where the lights are. And you really don't see any lights right now. So, and that's because they're planes that sit behind all of this. So I want to fix that. I want to move these planes out in front. So let's go back to the solid view, and let's just go into this Z offset. I'm going to say something 0.02. Now remember, this is in the scene units. In this particular case, the units are metric. So that's 1 meter is what that is. So I'm going to go 0.02 meters. So let's pack it. Now you can see these squares, they showed up in front. So if I go into my rendering, you'll see that we're going to get some lights showing up in front, which is nice. Now, one of the things that's interesting here is, don't forget, I can actually select anything. Let's go into local, and I can move them around, right? So this is these lights. I can put more lights over here if I want to. I can scale it. So this is unique to SPOCK. Simple Sci-Fi doesn't allow you to do that because it's using geometry nodes. And then I can just clear it and then go back in here and say pack it. Now, sometimes what's going to happen is if you select something, you say pack, it's going to tell you, you can't select an object in the temporary collection. So you need to know that, right? So you need to make sure that you can't do that. So what I typically do is I'll do clear and then select this and say pack. And so I'll always get that. So now I've got lights and I've got this surface, which is what I really want. So now I'm going to clear that. I'm going to tab into this. I'm going to hit A, select everything. And I can work in the local view like this. And with everything selected, I'm going to hit the pack button. And it may take a little while, but it's going to pack everything with this background of dots and these pipes and the panel. Okay, now that this is done, what we're going to do is save this to a new collection set. We can turn it off now. Now let's go ahead and collapse all of these and turn them off as well. Now, you don't need to. You could clear all and start over again, but I kind of like, it doesn't do any harm just to leave them on here like this. And I'll say new, and we'll go to SP panels, and we'll have one more, and we'll do XP panels extra large. And they're set to instance, and we're going to leave them with the default settings, except for this this top one. I'm going to basically rotate this any way we want. The bottom one, we're going to leave the way it is, and let's give them each a margin of 1%. So they have just a little bit of a parting line. And then let's just tab into this, and now I'm going to pack them, and you can see what we got. So that's not so great. Let's go into something like this corner sorted and pack them again. Yeah, I kind of like that. So once you see that, now what I need to do is I need to turn on this other one. You'll see that this is actually a lot of that's in front of it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to change the Z dimension to 0.05, something like that. And let's pack it again. There we go. So now we're starting to see some. Now the problem is we're not seeing anything behind it. That kind of works and looks fine, but there's nothing behind it. So we want to show some more stuff behind it. So what I could do at this point is I'm going to basically take another new one and I'm going to use the SP panels that we did before with a margin of 1. And I'm going to set this one to empty. And what that means is that it's going to choose from either this one, this panels as an instance, this panels, or this panel. So it'll toggle between all three of them. And if I say pack, let's see what happens. So we can start to see that, let's hide this. What's going on is that we're getting some empty stuff to show up, but not a lot. So instead of that empty being SP panels, I'm going to make it SP panels extra large and then say pack. And now you see that we're starting to break it out a little bit more. That might be a bit too much. So what I'll do is I'll use this factor. I want the SP panels extra large to be 3 times as popular as the empty one. And then this one, I'm going to make it 3 times as popular also. And then let's pack it. And you can start to see we're starting to get some interesting stuff going on. And let's just maybe choose a size sort, pack. Yeah, so that's good. Now, one of the things I'm doing here is I'm actually going to pack these individually because I want to get a custom look for each one of these panels. So I'm going to say, save that. Let's go over and grab this one and let's pack it. Actually, that looks pretty good. Save that. And then let's go to these over here and let's pack those. And you see it's just not going to pack well. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I scaled this SP panels at 1 and I turned off the rest of the things and then I packed it and I get this. And I put it to this random algo. And once I get that done, I can basically save it. And as you can see, it's still got stuff underneath it, so that's good. So now I'm going to go over and grab this one, pack it, and that's good. Save it. You can see once you kind of get the recipe down, it's pretty fast. And save that one. Okay, so now we have all these saved. Let's go ahead and look and see what we have here. See, and you can see that's what we have. The external locker. If we do a rendering, quick rendering, we'll take a look and see what we have. So you can see. And that's what we have. Actually, let's set this outside to SY dark anodized. That's the anodized one. And then the interior we'll set to SY dark matte. Okay, so now this is where we're at right now. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to put in the floor. And that's pretty straightforward and easy. Let's talk about how we're going to do that. So I'm going to turn all these off. And let's go in here and let's tab into this. And let's just grab that floor right there. Turn all these off. Create a new set. And this time we'll use floor. We'll use 1. And let's just pack it. See what happens. Okay, so that's interesting. One thing we know is that we probably want to make sure we're in one of these sorted ones. So let's try short sorted. And we do know that it looks like it's a little too wide. I know that's a square, so I want those grades running in that direction. So let's make this like 0.8 and pack it. There we go. Okay, so now what we've done is we've used this scale 0.54 and we've got a pretty good packing, but we have this little front area and I'd like to move these around a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to slice off just a little bit of this. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll hit this button, go in here, and with this selected 7 key, and now we're looking down from the top as you can tell. And then I hit the numpad 9, now we're looking at the bottom. And there's the front. So I'm going to say K. And I just want to give me a little slice off of here, right here, just like this. A, there, and hit enter. Now if I look here, you see I've got just that. So I'm going to select this, just that, and pack that. And you'll see it goes directly to it. So it's nice, got some little stuff in the back. Now the issue that we're going to have is, let's turn all these others on, is that we're not high enough up. So we need to go a little higher. Let's do Z 0.05 and let's pack that, see what that does. Yeah, now we're high enough up. We got some little stuff showing up. Let's go 0.06, pack. There you go. And there that is, and let's save that. Now we want to look at the back. And notice we're in local mode, by the way, which is kind of nice. It's a nice way to work with this. So let's go ahead and turn the save sets off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, and if I hold Shift H, I've basically hidden all the other faces in this mode, and I'll go KA, and I'll just grab this, and I'm going to go across there. Return. Okay, so now I'm just going to pack this part first. New, let's do 2 news. And what we're going to do is we're going to pack this with the panels extra large. And this one I'm going to use panels, and I'm going to set this one to empty. And I want the extra large to show up maybe 5 times more than the empty. And let's pack and see what happens there. So that's what we get for that. Okay, so here are the settings I've got for this. Basically, I set the margin to 1%, factor to 5. And then I have the SP panels, and I'm actually set the scale of that to 0.5, and it's a factor of 1. So that means we're going to generate 5 times as many of these extra large panels that we are these little SP panel stuff. So now if we look at all of our sets, you can see that we're not far enough in front again. So we're going to need to take this SP panels extra large, and we're going to need to move it up 0.05. And let's pack it and see what happens. Yeah, so it's almost all the way out, but let's just keep packing it. And I think we're going to stick with this right here. And then once we've done that, we'll hit the save button. We'll save that. And let's just, again, we'll look at this. We'll see that where we're at. And then we're on to these areas above here. So let's grab that one. Let's try packing that with some panels as well. And we'll just grab these same panels and use the same thing. Instead of 1.4, we'll use a smaller number and see what happens when we start to pack that. Okay, and so we basically just set that to a 0.5, and we turned off auto trim before. Sometimes auto trim might get in the way, especially when you're doing rectangles, of filling things out. But in this case, we needed it to be on, and we made sure it was on. And then let's go ahead and save that one. And then we'll select this panel down here, and let's pack that, and we'll save this one. Okay, and so here's what we have so far. Now add a light, and let's just go in and do that real quick. Alt-H to show everything. Let's grab this face. Let's do a inset, E, move it down something like this. And then bevel it, Control B. And then we can just take this face right here, just go in here, and we're just going to say, add a new slot, assign it. Let's go into KitOps, grab this one right here, and we're going to add a warm emissive, add material to that right there. And if I look at this, you'll see that it's kind of blowing out nicely there. Let's grab that and do Control Plus. Let's give one more, and then assign that also. So now we have a nice little lamp area, and that's what we have. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some controls to this locker. Okay, now we're going to add some controls. So let's go back into SPOCK, and I'm going to minimize these save sets, and I'm going to basically go here and just say clear all, because I don't need this. I know got pretty much all this already set up the way I want it. First, I'm going to turn off my save sets, and I'm going to click on this last face right here. And that's where I want to put them. But I want to put them in the top half of this. Here we are. Let's tab into that. And now we have a little rim at the top also. So I'm going to take this surface and let's go back into SPOCK. We got a new set, and we're going to use switches. And new set, and we're going to use displays. This is always going to be 1%. 1 for the margin on these. 1, and let's pack them and see where we're at. Okay, so now we can look at this, and we'll see that we're 90 degrees off, right? Rotate 90 and pack. And I think it needs to rotate the opposite. And then, so once this is 270, we know this one's 270 also, and we can pack. Okay, so we have a bunch of displays on here. It might be too many. So what I can do is, instead of here, I just say hero and hero. I want them to be unique. And let's put 5 switches. Actually, they don't need to be unique. We'll do 6 switches, but we'll definitely have displays being unique. And we'll limit to 4 displays. There we go. So I can just keep hitting this pack. Now they're all butt up against each other. So what I might want to do is add a little more space. So I'm going to say new, and again, we'll just say something like the panel under and set these to empty. And let's pack them now. There, that gives me a little more space. So I'll just keep going here. Let's not use columns, let's use random. Okay, I like this one, so I'm going to save that. And that works well. And then I might come up here. So let's go to the interior. Let's turn off all our save sets. Let's tab into it. Let's select. Let's Alt-H to unhide everything. And I'm going to select this one up here. And I'll put a couple little buttons up here or something like that. So let's go ahead and turn off the displays. And let's just pack it and see what happens. What the buttons look like up there. Leave it like that. Now, one of the cool things that we mentioned is that you can actually tab out of this. I can just delete this one if I don't want it, or move it somewhere, right? So this one, I might move him all the way over here. This one, I could move him here, and maybe possibly even down just a little bit. I'm going to add a few more details in here. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to turn off the save sets, tab into here, and what I want to do is I'm going to grab that one face right here, and I'm going to do a new, actually it's clear all, do a new, and I'm going to add in here a tiny thin on there. And I'm going to basically rotate that all these directions and say pack. And you can see it's a nice tiny thin. The problem with it is that, as you can see with save sets, it's all kind of hiding. So I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. So I'm going to say 0.02, and then let's pack it. There you go. So now we have them sticking above. So that's kind of a, you can go in and add that, like for instance, like this face right there. I want to pack that maybe because there's a lot of stuff in there that's not necessarily fitting. So I hit the pack button. And because this is so small, this could take a while, but you get it. It worked out pretty good. So one last thing I'll show you is that what if you don't like one of these displays on here? So if I go in here and let's select this object right here, and let's say I don't like this display. Actually, I like that display. Let's go grab this one. So we don't like that display. So select it here, go over here, hit the period on your numpad, select it here, and all you do is just change this. Anything, you call it anything you want, and it will actually update. Let's call it Jack. See, notice, anytime you change the name, it's going to update the display. Keep doing that until you like it. And the same thing's true with any kind of labels that you may find on an object that you may want. So that'll be the same thing. Like if I go into here, select that label, zoom all the way in on it, hit the period button over here, and say, and that's it. That's the whole tutorial. What I want to do is kind of give you an in-depth look at how to use SPOCK to design the kind of things that you may want to design. So hopefully you found this informative, and you can get SPOCK at Blender Market. And thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you online.